Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Danny Barnes, Assistant Athletic Director for Communications here at Point Loma Nazarene University. We just want to take a couple moments during these very unique times to catch up with the Sea Lions Athletic Director, Ethan Hamilton, and hear what is going on with Point Loma Athletics. Ethan, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Danny.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We just want to see how things are going with you. First of all, how are you doing during these times? How are you and your family?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're doing great. Really appreciate the time that we've gotten to spend some time with family. But I think most of all, I think we're pretty cognizant as a family and institution of a lot of people out there that are really hurting, and it's a tough time. And so very empathetic to that. And to all you student athletes and coaches and staff and families or whoever's chiming in today, just want to say that we wish you well. We miss you. Please stay safe and healthy, and hopefully get to reconnect here in the next couple months.
Well, thank you very much. And I think that's where we really start. Just thank you for the chance to come on. And thank you to everybody that has submitted questions to us and to Ethan on this one. We just wanted to hear a little bit from you. There's so much news going on out there. You're hearing things one day and it changes the next day. And even as we set up this whole call, we even had things change from the time we put out a call for questions for you and announcing that this would go on. So I think that kind of the very first question that we need to start with is just, we know things are changing all the time, but what is the outlook right now for fall sports? Kind of in the West region, we saw the California Collegiate Athletic Association, the CCAA, said that their fall sports had been suspended for a little while. What is going on with fall sports right now?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The ground is constantly shifting. And yeah, when we set this up a week ago, I was feeling pretty good about where we were headed in a direction and having lots of conversations. I'd probably start there. The NCAA has been working around the clock and trying to figure out ways to address this upcoming academic year. I think a lot of schools are bracing for some financial turmoil. And so one of the proposals that the NCAA is looking at right now is reducing the number of contests in all sports to address some of those financial concerns, and also the safety and health and well-being of our student athletes and coaches and staff. And so there's a proposal that's being reviewed right now. Hope to have some more answers on that in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, the news from 2 days ago, and it caught me by surprise. I know some other folks that said they weren't surprised. I feel like I have my ear to the ground pretty well, but I was not prepared for that. In fact, I'd heard kind of rumblings from one of our coaches, and sure enough, that news was true. Obviously, it starts first with the institution. And so those 23 Cal State institutions decided to make a decision to go virtual this fall. I think a lot of schools have said, if we go online, then we need to not have sport. And so I think each individual institution needs to make that decision for themselves. But in essence, when those 23 schools and the chancellor of the Cal State system decided to go down that road, the CC2A conference, which is all made up of Cal State universities, and so that was nice from that standpoint. They all report to the same chancellor. The decision was made, hey, if we're going completely virtual, then we're not doing any sports in the fall semester. And so I know there was even some confusion about that. It's not just no fall sports, it's no sports in the fall semester. So there's an impact on every single sport. And my heart goes out to those coaches and student athletes. That's real tough. And I know there's a ton of uncertainty in the days to follow what even leads to that. And so I think institutionally, Point Loma, from the get-go, we have been doing everything possible in making decisions to set us up best and continue to have a safe and healthy environment at Point Loma, but to allow for face-to-face instruction and to be a residential campus. And so from Point Loma's standpoint, we're still pushing forward and toward to that. And so we're going to continue to fall and planning for this fall to have athletics as we've had each of the previous whatever amount of years for falls. And so We're excited for volleyball and soccer's and cross country to come to campus in August and get the season going. Now, the CCAA doing that does have an impact on us. You know, a lot of those schools and teams, whether it be fall sports or even some of our winter sports, we're scheduled to play them in this fall semester. And so that has an impact on schedules. On that same parallel track, the NCAA has been, again, looking at how many contests you're going to play anyway. And so right now we're in a little bit of a holding pattern, but know some things are going to change.
So on that note, as you talk about a little bit there, the West region is made up of 3 conferences. You mentioned the CCA right there. The Point Loma plays in the Pac-West Conference, and the other one is the one kind of up in Oregon and Washington area and some of Montana. It is called the GNAC. Obviously, the CCA has made some decisions, but what about the Pac-West and GNAC? Are those commissioners in pretty good communication? How does that communication take place there?
Yeah, really good question. The commissioners are talking frequently. And as you mentioned, there's 3 conferences. And we're still in dialogue with the GNAC. I think one of the concepts that we've looked at as a region, as the whole NC2A, is if we are put into a situation where we need to reduce contests, do we reduce down to just a conference-only schedule? But we need to be aligned with the other schools, obviously, in the region to make sure that we're on the same page doing the same thing. But a little bit, again, of the feedback we're getting from the NC2A, to this point, they haven't been willing to move off of, we're keeping the NCAA championships the same, which we're excited about, the dates the same, the locations, and so at least we can work from that date and start to move backward towards August and September and potentially rebuilding schedules or recreating schedules that can match up with the mandates that the NCAA puts in place. And so at the end of the day, yes, we do need to be aligned with those other conferences in our region to some extent. But I also think we're looking at a reality that this year is going to be unlike any we've ever had before. There will be a new normal. There will be some adjustments, and we're going to try the best we possibly can at Point Loma, our conference, the region, and the whole country to make that as good of an experience as possible. But it is going to be different. It's going to be different for all of us.
Speaking a little bit on that experience and things like that, how much are you personally in communication with other schools, whether it be in the Pac-West, whichever one, during this process? Are you talking to them quite a bit?
Yeah, my day is full of lots of talking and lots of listening. I would say I'm on the phone or on Zoom probably 8 to 10 hours a day minimum. Some just becoming more educated on what's going on in different places, but also strategizing and coming up with different plans that we could potentially implement once we get more information from the NC2A that they're going to do. And so I'm very open to the ideas and thoughts that other ADs or commissioners have. I also spend a lot of time and have a good network here in the different major universities here in San Diego of what they're doing, even if it's at the Division I level. We want to know what's going on and what they're up against. And I think we're up against some of those same things locally. And obviously we got to lean on our state and local authorities for different guidance. But a big part of it is just talking with some of these other athletic directors and folks and hearing different ideas, different concepts, what's going on their campuses. And so we can be aligned as best as possible once we really are able to unveil kind of plans here for the fall.
Fantastic. Once again, we want to give a shout out and a thank you to everybody that submitted questions on the thing. It was great just to hear the different angles on this one. This was a question I thought was very unique. What can the parents of student athletes do to help the university administration, coaches, and the teams during this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say there's been 2 letter P words that I've kind of been focused on a lot here these last 2 months. The first one would just be patience. And so I'd probably ask that still from parents and student athletes. And I say this to myself, preaching to the choir on that, but even our coaches and staff is we need to be patient. And there's some adaptability that goes with that patience. because things are continuing to shift. And I think we've been very deliberate on our campus. I think we've been very deliberate as a conference. I know our athletic department in making decisions that still align with the best interests of the institution and our student athletes. And so appreciate the patience probably from parents, but probably even more so, I love the support. And I'm just going to, my second P word there would be just prayer. I think the amazing thing to me, and I'm reminded constantly, even doing some different devotions or hearing from different folks, we serve an amazing God, and we have used the term unprecedented so many times, but I think we have a God that's dealt with unprecedented things before. This isn't the first situation, won't be the last, but I'm constantly reaching out and to the Lord for prayer, for guidance, and I want the same thing for our leaders at our school, our city, our county, our state, and our country. And I think there's a certain level of having to make some tough decisions at times, but doing it in the most graceful and loving way possible, with empathy, which isn't always happening right now. Obviously, we have different sides of the aisle and different conversations and thought processes through all this. And I think we lose sight that we're dealing with people and people that are hurting at times. We've even got in the midst of different intense conversations of how many, soccer matches should you play or not play, or, those are tough things. And so I want to do those with a lot of prayer and also be patient, because different people are dealing with different situations. And so I think I'd ask the same thing, whether it be for student athletes, for coaches, for staff, for families, for parents. I love that question. But I appreciate their patience, and I appreciate their prayers. I really do.
Well, Ethan, just thanks a lot for joining us today. We just had a great chance to talk to you. I'm sure we'll have another chance to do this. I got to let you go, but I got to make one more comment. The haircut's looking really good right now. Who gets credit for your haircut in this time?
Yeah, I've had a few people ask. This is a gift from my wife, Andrea. I love her to death. She's never cut anyone's hair until she cut my son or mine, and I think she did a fantastic job. Saved me $8. I will say it took about 4.5 hours for it to get cut, but I greatly appreciate that she was willing to do it and spend the time to do that. A lot of cool family bonding opportunities that we've had, and hair cutting has been one of them. Although I have not reciprocated on her hair, I don't think she'd let me close to hers.
Well, we greatly appreciate the opportunity that you came by today, and just a chance to share some of the insight going on the both inside of Point Loma Athletics and what's just going on overall in collegiate athletics. So thanks a lot, and we look forward to the opportunity to talk to you again in the future. Thank you very much, and thanks everybody for joining us today. See you later, Ethan.
Thanks, Danny.